Hello everyone, I'm Das, and this is One. Welcome to the second episode of Das's Game Library. Today we'll be reviewing Capcom's newest addition to the Resident Evil family, Operation Raccoon City, the 18th game in the series released onto a mainstream console. Now before we go any further, let's make sure everyone's up to speed with the game's roots. The Resident Evil series is stretched across 3 console generations, as well as finding its way onto a number of handheld devices, including mobile phones. The series started with Resident Evil 1 in 1996, and was released on PlayStation 1. Although this wasn't the first survival horror game, it helped lift the genre to new heights. In RE1 you were placed alone in a mansion owned by the Umbrella Corporation, shortly after the outbreak of an experimental virus called the T-Virus, a mutagen that causes wild mutations. While this is often fatal, once the host dies, the virus brings them back to life as a zombie. Because of this, the mansion is infested with the undead. In the first game, your only real goal was survival. The game featured a fixed aiming system that would only allow you to aim in 3 directions, up, down, and forward. Ammo was a constant problem in RE1, as 8 to 9 handgun rounds were needed to take down a single standard zombie, making the smart decision to avoid conflict wherever possible. And as a final feather in its cap, characters only started with the ability to hold 8 items. This is almost all the space you had to carry everything needed, including keys, mission-critical items, weapons, and ammo, often leaving you underprepared for surprise attacks. Overall, the game made you feel like you were against impossible odds, and at times, completely underprepared. Flash forward to the present, and we now have Operation Raccoon City, a third-person shooter set in the same time as the original Resident Evil 2 and 3. The game places you on a 6-man team known as the Wolf Pack, a group of mercenaries hired by the Umbrella Corporation to cover up their involvement in the viral outbreak that has swept Raccoon City following the events of RE1. At the start of the game, you're given a choice about which of the 6 characters you wish to choose from, each with their own abilities as well as a selection of weapons to start each stage with. You are also given a choice about the other members of your team, but not what weapons or abilities they will have. As is so often the case, the game starts with a small tutorial section, giving you the chance to see not only what you can do, but also what your team can do. Your mission objectives are updated constantly by an Umbrella operative over the radio, and a map marker guides you from place to place. The upgrade I most noticed in this game was the knife. In other Resident Evil games, the knife was more a weapon of last resort, used only in emergencies or to conserve ammo. However, in this game, melee combat is a vital component of survival, often becoming the preferred method of defending yourself against swarms of enemies. The other 2 noteworthy upgrades were bleeding and infection. While neither of these are new to the series, their effects were definitely felt. Bleeding in this game will attract every zombie in the area to your location, as well as coloring the screen red, making it difficult to defend yourself. The viral infection can occur from any enemy with the T-Virus. Once infected, your health is slowly sapped, giving you a very small window to apply the cure. Healing items will restore your health but not stop the infection. If left untreated, you will be turned into a zombie. This counts as a death and you will begin to attack any living thing, including allies. The atmosphere in this game is intense to say the least, with corpses of headless and limbless bodies littering the ground, blood splattering against the walls, and even zombies feeding off of bodies. In this way, the game makes you feel like you've walked into a post-apocalyptic nightmare. Sound was good, but inappropriate and distracting at times. This broke the feel of the game on more than one occasion. Gameplay in this game is hard to comment on, with anything infected with the T-Virus reacting exactly as I assumed it would. Anything that was alive, however, did not. Live enemies with guns would often stay behind cover, refusing to react even after every other member of their team had been sniped, unless we moved past a certain point. They also seemed to advance inappropriately, essentially giving a free kill. Your team in this game was a double-edged sword. While at times they were vital to victory, they often blocked my path, charged into battles against overwhelming odds, blocked my line of sight, killed themselves with fire, and even refused to engage in fights at all. The final nail in the AI coffin was their tendency to want to kill everything with melee attacks. This frequently led to infection with the T-Virus and the death of teammates. Overall, Resident Evil was a fairly good game, and worked most of the time, and although there were a few bugs, causing me to be trapped or unable to continue, the game constantly saved itself, allowing you to go back to almost the exact location the game bugged out. Now, without further delay, here comes the quantification zone. Sound gets a 7.5. The sound was good and on the whole it added to the game. Unfortunately, a few times the music was just wrong for the situation I was in. It was also very distracting in more than a few situations. Graphics gets an 8. Visually this game is very graphic. With death and destruction all around you, it felt like you were really storming into a biological outbreak. Sadly, sometimes the game felt as though it was trying too hard to remind you of that point. Finally, a full -1 for a game crash in a AAA game. Gameplay gets a 7. While killing zombies was fun, and overall the gameplay mechanic was solid, the constant interference of your team was always a factor. They never really felt like allies. More a group of people I was babysitting. Story gets a 5.5. Although the game answered a few questions that I'd always wanted to know, it didn't really feel like it had a story of its own. The characters felt interchangeable and unlikable, and while they constantly reminded you they were there, I never really felt like any of them were anything more than a bunch of pixels on the screen. Overall, the game gets a 7 out out of 10. Although fun, the game doesn't feel like it was designed with the single player in mind. And while moments of the game were fantastic, as a whole the game didn't feel complete. Finally, as is becoming the custom, we would like to leave you with one's thoughts. Happy gaming everyone, and thanks for watching.